Let me hit you with something that you probably won't agree with, right? I mean, that's a wonderful way to start the week. A Monday morning with Scribe talking about stuff that doesn't make sense in the context of Galaxy of Heroes. T-Zip. Are we actually about to experience a rebirth, a renaissance, if you will? Yeah, that's a fancy word. It's multisyllabic, I know, right? Are we going to see a rebirth in Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes? And does this tie into the recent changes that Galaxy of Heroes has been experiencing? You know the changes that I'm talking about. Just yesterday, go watch that video, by the way, it's banging. We spoke about the upcoming changes to the era challenges. And what I'm talking about here is not so much the broad picture of, oh look, era challenges now feature multiple feats which are basically just milestones in era levels, and overall most people are going to end up earning less than the pittance of the era currency that they used to get from these very same challenges. I want to talk about the more broader picture here, the big picture. Let's think big, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, just like your muscles. You have been working out, haven't you? I can tell. Keep it up. Let's think big picture, okay? It's not just error challenges, right? It's the error system. It's error leveling. It's how we get our stars. It's how we get our journey guide events. It's how we are eventually going to get things like Galactic Legends. It's how they've moved this focus away from, hey, all you big whales out there that you spend lots of money, you guys get all of the nice juicy toys. Their focus has very much shifted from existing players, existing whales, long-term players. You're seeing a lot of it. Even Arnold has stopped whaling, mostly on new characters, right? Even Xaereth is saying he's out, right? He's going to go to 5 stars. He's going to coast it out, not going for that 7-star unlock. Okay, a lot of the big creators are dropping off because the value isn't there. All right, the value isn't there. And the reason I'm saying, well, no, I'm not saying this. The reason I'm thinking this could be the case is because I feel like CG is setting themselves up for an influx of new players, and they want to establish the new normal. All right? Why do I think this is happening? Well, back in January of this year, we had a little bit of a change up in terms of the leadership of Lucasfilm. All right? Kathleen Kennedy. Kathleen Kennedy, every Star Wars fan loves, loathes, I forget which one it is, this woman and what she has done for Star Wars over the last years. And we have seen a change of creative leadership within Lucasfilm. Namely, Dave Filoni is one of the co-creators or co-lead creative directors now of Lucasfilm. And that's going to bleed into the entire creative process of Star Wars across all mediums. He's going to be choosing and setting the direction for the various projects that are going to be taken on. Now, Kathleen Kennedy isn't gone by any stretch of the imagination. She is now becoming a producer and focusing on a producer type role. I haven't looked into what she has actually done, okay? I don't care. I'll be quite frank, I don't care what she's done. I like change when, if you look at the last 10 years of Star Wars, there have been more misses, in my opinion, than there have been hits, and the misses have been some pretty big snafus, right? So with Dave Filoni coming in, and another lady, I forget who she is, that's also helping leading the charge, there is an opportunity here that some renewed focus is going to be shone on the Star Wars medium, all right? We're about to go in now. Coming in May, we have got Mandalorian and Grogu, the first feature film that we've had in Star Wars since Rise of Skywalker. That's a long time, guys. December 2019 was the last time we had a feature-length film in Star Wars. 6 years ago, guys. 6 years. Well, nearly 6 years. 5.5, let's say. 5 and some schmeckles, right? Now we're about to have our next feature film, and I know that we've got the X-Wing pilot one with Ryan Gosling as well coming later on, right? Star Wars Starfighter, something like that, right? So if you consider the fact that we have new creative leadership going in, you tie that into the fact that we recently had a Forbes interview with leads of Capital Games talking about the era of Andor. When was the last time you properly saw adverts for Galaxy of Heroes? I have the occasional person slip into my DMs on Discord and show me adverts that are on TikTok, for example. And it's never really a true representation of the game. But the point is, this is a 10-year-old mobile game that historically has never done advertisements, or has done very few advertisements at all to try and push this brand wider. And all of a sudden, we've got a change of leadership, we've got new film dropping, and we've got an advert in Forbes. Now, I'm telling you, if this upcoming era, after this era of Andor drops, which is going to finish around May, right? If it drops and we start seeing content in this game for Mandalorian and Grogu, which is almost certain, because every film that we've had released, at least every film that I can remember being released whilst playing this game, granted, the last one was 6 years ago, but you saw it for Solo. We had character releases come out with Solo. Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, Rise of Skywalker, we had GLs come to the game, right? If we see content pushed towards Mandalorian and Grogu, and we see that Lucasfilm has actually got some interest in throwing budget towards advertising their own games and having some alignment and having people talk to big industry people like people at Forbes, showing more of an interest, has CG's recent proclivity to try and change the focus away from old player bases, switch up the pricing model a little bit, and with the expectation of lots of new people coming to play the game, because whenever we get big releases within Star Wars media, new films come out, new TV series come out, there is an influx of new players that want to play a Star Wars related game. And let's be frank, on the phone, on your mobile devices, there isn't exactly a whole lot of choice when it comes to, are there any good games out for Star Wars? I mean, let's be real. Let's forget about mobile games just for one moment, and let's think about Star Wars as a brand itself. When you look at that, there aren't actually that many games in existence right now that focus on the Star Wars brand. Every time we get a new game, it gets cancelled for some reason. Yes, we've had some successes with the Jedi Knight Cal Kestis or Jedi Cal games, Star Wars Fallen Order, Jedi Survivor. Go back 20 years, might be longer. You have the Jedi Knight, Jedi Outcast, Jedi Academy, Dark Forces, you had those games. Yeah, you had a couple of RTS games as well. We've got Zero Company supposedly coming sometimes this year. I want to say, please, pretty please, make it happen, let's go. So people don't have a whole lot of choice is the point I'm trying to make, right? So there is always an influx of players whenever we get new mediums. And I feel like when we look at it, in particular, look at this change to era challenges and the feat structure that we are getting right now, right? Splitting it up. That only is a problem because we know what it used to be like, right? Oh, you've got an era level 11 character. You do the tier 1, you're able to get your 40, right? If it started off as there are 4 feats in tier 1, it's for era level 11, 15, 13, whatever it is, who cares, right? It has that same laddered structure. We probably would moan, right? But we wouldn't moan as much. It's never a good idea to go out to the community and be like, here's a whole cake. And then the next time it's your birthday, they're like, we're giving you 30% of a cake, but you can get 50% if you give me a $5. And you can get 70% if you give me a $10. But if you give me $2,000, you get the full cake. That doesn't, I'd rather not have a birthday and not eat cake. I'm hungry. Anyway, it's only a problem because we know what it used to be like, and they are basically penny pinching and stripping those rewards away, right? When it comes to a new player experience, they're not going to have that same memory of what did it used to be like. They're brand new experience to the game, and they're like, okay, looks like you need to have this era leveling stuff. They're not going to have this concept of, oh, I unlock a character, I gear it, and then yada, yada, yada. Their experience to new characters is immediately the era system. Oh, the era system. They go in this locked away mode. I can level them up with era leveling currency, and then, when they go to the legacy roster, I've got them at gear 12. Oh, wow, all the other characters I have to gear up myself and working it from there. But these new characters, they come in ready-made. It's we don't like change, obviously. But to a new player, that has no concept of how this game has run for 10 years. They don't have that same thing. And I'm wondering if CG's new focus on new, fresh whales, rather than their established heavy spenders, right? I'm wondering if their focus towards that is part of this big drive from Lucasfilm to be like, we're about to push Star Wars again like nothing you've ever seen before, right? We've got Maul coming up next. We've got Mando and Grogu. We've got the Starfighter film with Ryan Gosling. We've got Ahsoka Season 2 coming supposedly end of this year / next year, right? You know, there's obviously some stuff going on behind the scenes there. But with Dave Filoni just coming into power right now, alongside his co-director, as it were, I do really feel like we are going to see a switch up in Star Wars that we haven't seen or experienced in decades. And I'm hopeful that maybe that's going to be okay, because realistically, the more people that play this game and the more investment that it gets, the better off it can be in a broad scheme of things. Now, I do want to address one other thing, because I know this is a bit of a talking head video, and I'm sure you don't really care about watching this bald Welshman just pontificating about what could potentially happen maybe in this game in the future. But there have been some people that suggesting that CG is running into this, let's bleed the community dry before we close the doors up for good and leave, right? I can understand why people have that perspective. I really can, because yes, over the last 6 months or so, the money that they've been expecting of their players has gradually increased. Okay, it's been quite a step up. Now we can argue you don't have to spend money on error leveling. You really don't. It's only if you want to perform in Colosseum. But they really leaned into that frustration mechanic of, if you don't spend, Colosseum is dull as balls, and you're not going to get the rewards that you get, either lightspeed tokens, or they let you get these Relic 10 materials that, you know, who doesn't want to have Relic 10? I mean, frankly, there's really very little point, because nothing has a requirement for it outside of the latest era battles. And even that, if you do it, you still need to have another 6 Relic 9s or 3 Relic 9s per era battle, and yada, 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 right? Okay, so they've lent into that frustration mechanic, and then they've layered that frustration mechanic with a whole lot of obfuscation around what do you actually get? How do you get these materials? How do you level up? Is it can I only spend money on leveling up these era levels? What level does my character get organically? They basically made it as confusing as possible to understand how that progression system is supposed to work, and what you actually get for free and what you get for spending money. Okay, they made that very confusing, and yes, it did result in quite a high level of spending from the community. I went over it in a video a long time ago when, I think it was the end of the first week of Luke, and then the end of the first week of IG90, just tracking the trending, seeing how much people are spending, and spoiler warning, like, it was like 500,000. It was ridiculous levels of money that people were spending on error leveling and stars and stuff like that. So they definitely saw that uptick come in. Right? And understandably, at the end of the first era, we've seen a massive drop-off in that. People are still spending. Player count is still up. We're still getting like 400,000 active accounts playing this game on a regular basis. Don't know how much of that is like fully whaling. I wouldn't suggest that CG are hurting for money, especially when you see these Lightspeed bundles coming out. So I can understand how people take that perspective of CG is just trying to milk money out this game before they close the doors, all right? And this is tied to the supposed buyout of EA by, you know, that venture capitalist company in Dubai or wherever it was. People in the comment section down below, let me know what you think about that. My counter-argument to that is, if CG were looking to just milk the community dry, right? Just let's extract every little bit of money out because we know the game is dead. It's like it's closing doors, right? It's closing shop, right? If that was the case, why would they have created a game mode like the Era system and Colosseum, right? Why would they talk about developing a PvP game mode for the Era system? Why would they continue to put out new characters at such an accelerated pace? Because this stuff isn't free, guys. They spend a heck of a lot of money doing animations, backgrounds, bosses, testing. Yes, they do. They do actually do testing. balancing, like all these bosses that like the way we progress in Colosseum is so incredibly regimented and thought out. It's a very deliberate linear curve in which you go through, unless you spend money, and then it's kind of a bell jar kind of thing. You go up and down and up and down, and you well, rather it's not up and down. You don't drop down in your rewards, but you hit plateaus, right? You hit plateaus, and as new characters come out and people continue to whale, they go massively up and plateau. Whereas the free-to-play progression is just a linear curve. It's like, oh, you've got one character, you slowly level up, slowly level up, slowly level up. Another character, slowly level up, slowly level up. And it's just like that across the entire era. So it's supposed to finish you at a point where you've done everything, right? And you've got your level 65 characters. They wouldn't invest all of that money if the goal was, we're just trying to milk the community dry. They wouldn't invest money, time, production time in creating new stuff. They would be letting staff go and just coasting. Sure, maybe they'll still do the, era releases, the character releases. Every 2 weeks we might still get characters, right? And they could just like roll that off until the end of the year and then close up shop. But the fact that they're talking about doing a PvP game mode, and the fact that we've just had a massive, biggest game change we've ever seen for Galaxy of Heroes just 3 months ago, I can't imagine why they would be closing shop. Because all of this monetization, this new monetization method, that was already planned as part of the error system. It was already in place. And they were probably designing the error system a year ago. So, like, I can't see how those two make sense, right? I can't see how it's this company is trying to bleed us dry, but they're also just massively increasing expenditures, right? They're devoting an inordinate amount of time to developing new game modes instead of just keeping their expenses as low as possible, whilst also increasing the amount of penny pinching that they do. I would also like to think that if it was they're looking to make as much money as possible, we would see fire sale type things. We would see stuff like, oh, a vault of crystals, which is normally $100, is $50. And like that would continue. So like the stuff that we are conditioned to be like, oh, this is really expensive. New marquees are not $100 to get to 7 stars now. Maybe they're $50. Maybe it's $25. It gets really, really cheap. So you get a mass volume of people just going in, oh my God, I'll get that. That's like a fraction of the cost it normally takes for us to get to that point. Now, I could be completely wrong. Obviously, I don't actually have any inside information at all. And obviously, the buyout of EA is probably going to have some knock-on impact at some point. There's probably going to be some sort of an assessment of Capital Games and their performance, right? So maybe this big push is them trying to make themselves look as lucrative and as beneficial to the EA brand as possible so that they don't get closed down. Furthermore, Capital Games, to my knowledge, have no other games. They tried to launch Home, and Home was not a successful venture, right? Probably for loads of reasons, right? Even I tried Home for a bit, and when it was pretty clear the writing was on the wall, I was like, I'm out. I'm done, right? They have nothing else. The workers, the employees, the leaders of Capital Games certainly don't want to see the company fail. That's their livelihood. They want the company to succeed. It's not like they'll be like, oh, I'll just go to some other department in EA. I mean, maybe they'll try and get a transfer, but they probably really want this game to succeed and to make a career out of it, right? So I can't see it happening. I can't see this just being a massive fire sale. I personally am investing in, I think that this is an opportunity within Star Wars that we've probably not seen for 10 years, right? And CG is trying to reposition themselves so that when new player bases come in, they have established a new normal that is more profitable for them. I'm not saying I like it. I actually don't. But like I said earlier, I belong to part of that older cast of players that has grown up with the game and has seen how it has developed throughout the years. I don't like the idea of them wanting me to spend more money, and I've adjusted my playstyle to accommodate that, right? I now don't refresh so much, so I can save more crystals and use crystals to get character shards so that I can save some of the money that I normally spend to get on error leveling that I need to unlock legendary units. I don't like it, but at least my income expenditure hasn't gone up. You know what I mean? Anyway, this was a large rambling pontification of my thoughts about Galaxy of Heroes and the Star Wars brand, but I'm really interested in knowing your thoughts at home. So let me know. What do you think about Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes? What do you think about the broader Star Wars brand and the future under new leadership? Do you think there's hope, or do you think it is literally time to run for the hills, grab the pitchforks and hide? Let me know, but give the video a like maybe if you're still around here. And anybody that has made the entire video, say Millennium Falcon in your comment, just so I know, and I'll give you a like. All right. I'll see you all in the very next video. Peace out, and may the Force be with you.